It is one of the most effective crime-fighting tools in the world, and other countries and other states are coming here to Delaware to learn more about it. We'll learn more about the new computer data crime-fighting program in Newcastle County next on the Delaware Way. Welcome to the Delaware Way. I'm Larry Menti. We are pleased to be joined today by the Chief of the Newcastle County Police, Colonel Elmer. Colonel, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely.
I do want to talk about your analytics program, which has been extremely successful in the area. It's called TAPS. What does that stand for?
The Targeted Analytical Policing System.
All right, and we're going to be talking more about that, but I want to get to some news right off the top. And to start with, I had just heard before we came on that you're having a problem with these distraction burglars. Explain what that is.
Distraction burglaries are traveling burglars. They do this for a living. They kind of do a little bit of recon. They look for folks that might be elderly, and when they go to the house, they'll try and get, one guy will distract them by saying, I'm with the power company and we need to trim your trees. I need you to come out and look at it. Well, when you step outside with this person, the other person goes into the house. They go right for the jewelry box. We actually had some very high-end burglaries. One of them was over $100,000 in property stolen.
And that's the way it happened.
And it can happen in seconds. I mean, they can get in your house and out of your house in minutes. If someone comes to your door and they bang on your door and they say they're a county employee or they say they're a Delmarva Power and you think something's wrong, it probably is. You should dial 911. There's no harm if we come out and that person's not with Delmarva Power, then we've got a burglar on our hands. If they are with Delmarva Power, it's no harm done. Just feel free to call 911 if you think something's wrong.
Is this a team that's working? Is it the same team that's going house to house?
Believe it or not, they're usually families, and they don't live here. They come through. They're called traveling burglars. They'll come through. They'll target an area. They'll target elderly folks. Sometimes they do a driveway scam where they say, we'll recoat your driveway for $200, and then they bang on the door when they're finished and say, hey, look, we used a lot more sealant than we expected. Now it's $900. Go right to your phone and call us. Because what they're doing is they're fast talkers, they're intimidating, and these folks that are a little bit older feel compelled to give them the money. The problem is it's still a scam. It's illegal, and you should certainly be calling 911 on that.
Talking about scams, I saw also in the newspaper that there is a popular phone scam going around right now and hitting this area.
Yeah, the IRS, that's just one of many scams that are out there where they call. The IRS will never call your house. They're going to send you a letter saying you're under investigation, or they'll come to your residence and they'll identify
And the scam is they call and they say that you got some real serious problems and you got to send money immediately.
And you have to send money right away or you're going to be arrested or we're going to shut down your bank account. There's many facets to it, but as you pointed out, if you get that call, a lot of times you'll realize that they actually have a foreign accent. If something seems wrong, again, it probably is, and you shouldn't be sending money to anyone for any reason. They would have to send a letter justifying, why and where the investigation led them.
I was looking at your crime stats, and we'll talk more about this as we go on, but they're impressive, and things that jump out, homicide rate. This is from last year, down 37%, over 37%. From 2 years ago, down over 54%. Shootings, down 23% from 2 years ago. This jumps out at me. Shootings from last year up 77%.
Yes.
What's causing that? Everything else is down.
Well, we analyze big data the best we can. We're not always able to isolate exactly what makes something spike. But if we can isolate the area, the time, we can usually isolate a suspect. A single person gets their hand on a stolen gun from a burglary, and they pass that gun from person to person. And we've seen this in the past, and why it spikes is usually because there's a stolen gun out there, and as soon as you get your hands on it, you kind of do your business, whatever that may be, trying to intimidate someone, or it might be over drug turf, and then you pass the gun on to someone else. But when you look at the 2-year data, you do see a decrease in it because, again, we are focused on the particular areas and the particular crimes that are considered quality of life crime. And that's why it keeps dropping. And we do have a spike there, and believe me, we're drilling down into it. It's not as simple as just saying, I think it's going to occur on Friday night from 7 to 9. It's a little bit broader than that. I mean, we're giving police service to about 500,000 people over 400 square miles.
Well, that's an outlier in this. Almost everything else is down. So, and that's what I was getting to. It's important to distinguish your department from the city of Wilmington. These statistics don't include the city of Wilmington, right?
No.
They'd be much different if it included the city of Wilmington.
I think they would be different numbers, yes.
The city of Wilmington has the unfortunate distinction of having the highest murder rate in the country right now.
Based on per capita, yeah, they're pretty high.
Yeah. Do you work with them?
We do. The Wilmington Police Department is in a turnaround. Their chief, Bobby Cummings, is attempting to adopt the same type of technology that we're using that analyzes when and where crime is going to occur, so you can put your resources where they're needed. What Bobby Cummings inherited was an agency that didn't have the infrastructure in technology to where we are. They are not. They didn't have computers in every car. They didn't have the type of programs and software and algorithms to go through all of the data coming in from 911, so they don't know the same things that we know. And again, this is something that he inherited, and he's turning around at a pretty good pace. And I feel confident that he's going to be successful.
He sat right there where you're sitting now and said, I need more men. I need 50 more men.
Well, he knows his city better than I do. I'm not going to say that he does or doesn't need them. I know that in Newcastle County, we had a problem with the way we were deploying. We were chasing 911 calls, and that usurps a lot of resources. If we're running from 911 call to 911 call, we're not really resolving a lot because whatever occurred has already happened. So we have to figure out how can we reduce the actual number of 911 calls. Now, I think that same program will work for Chief Cummings, and how many men he needs or doesn't need, or how many personnel he needs, I can't say. I'm not policing this city. I know it's a tough city to police, and I know he inherited a lot of issues. But in Newcastle County, I knew we had one option and one option only. We had to reduce the amount of 911 calls. We don't have the tax base to hire additional officers. We have to use the 350 officers that we have better, and that's what this program's about.
Now, one of the things you work together on is, and it's the root of many of the crimes we've been talking about, is the heroin epidemic.
Yes.
It's not just hitting this area, it's hitting the entire country.
It's in the entire country.
But do you feel like you're getting a handle on it at all?
Our approach to it is we can't just go after the heroin. There's a much bigger systemic problem here. The people say to the police, go get the heroin. The heroin, we have the heroin. We have the largest seizures of heroin in Delaware's history. We have a 10-fold increase, and that's not even the real number. It's unbelievable. The prisons are full, right? The evidence lockers are brimming, filled with heroin. We've never seen so much heroin in our lives. We have an increase in all of these areas. Prison ends up being forced sobriety. So where are these people getting help? The property crime is being driven by the heroin trade. That's clear. These people are not real criminals. They are forced into feeding their habit. They exhaust their families, they exhaust their friends, and they begin stealing from whomever, wherever.
And probably not just the property crime, but the shootings and the murders and all of the crimes, many of the crimes raise out of the heroin epidemic, right?
And then it gets dropped into law enforcement slap, fix the heroin problem. There's nowhere for these people to rehab. There's not enough education. We spent millions and millions of dollars on Click It or Ticket or DUI enforcement, which are all great programs. But if we can educate our children to put on their seatbelts, why can't we educate our children that heroin is not a recreational drug?
So you're saying it's not when it becomes a crime problem, it's too late.
It's too late. We have to take a step back. We have to look at the fact that where are people being rehabbed? Are we educating the next generation? Yes, we're immersed in a heroin epidemic right now. What are we doing about the next generation? We have a heroin program called Heroin Alert that educates children that this is a drug. It's a life-ending drug. Most people do not get out of heroin addiction. They end up either being incarcerated or they end up overdosing. And they may be saved by a Narcan save, but they go right back to using heroin. And if they're not saved, they're dead. We have 25 heroin overdoses, not including the city, in Newcastle County that have ended in death this year. That's pretty, here we are talking about an Ebola case in Texas, one person, and that's it's awful. But look at the amount of traction that they're getting on this, yet heroin is killing people in Delaware every single day. And what have we done to change it? Well, we've arrested everybody we can arrest, and we'll continue to do so. I'm not stepping away from the problem. I'm saying it has to be approached by every level of government. It has to be approached from the point that, are we educating the next generation? If we are, we're doing a bad job. We put the heroin alert program out there. We have schools telling us we don't need a heroin alert program. We don't have a problem. We do have a problem. And then we educate what's the first thing your child does when they get in your car? They put on their seatbelt. You don't even tell them anymore, right? We do Click It or Ticket. We do Mothers Against Drunk Driving. They're all great programs and they do well. Why are we not educating our children that heroin is not a recreational drug?
No, it's a great point. Look, when we come back, we have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do what you like to do. We're going to drill down into the data and talk about the program that has been bringing down crime in New Castle County when the Delaware Way continues with Colonel Elmer Setting.